Hello and welcome back to From a Head Teacher's Perspective with me, Paul Urry. In today's podcast, we're looking at pressing pause, our school's real-world response to the DfE Workload and Wellbeing guidance. The national guidance asks important questions, but it's how we create space for staff to answer them together that matters the most. In response to the DfE's conversation guide for workload and wellbeing in schools and academy trusts, we choose to pause as a staff team, reflecting honestly together on our practices and culture. This is how we approached it, what we changed, and what challenges remain. So in reading the DfE's recent guidance, the questions they pose are good ones. Are your marking and feedback practices meaningful, manageable, motivating? Is data collection proportionate and purposeful? Are behaviour recording and parental expectations handled efficiently and fairly? Do we have a culture that discourages excessive working hours and encourages well-being? These are all things we want to get right. But while the questions are helpful, it's how we go about answering them that really matters. And that's where schools need to translate national guidance into genuine local conversations that fit the culture and the context of their community. In our school, we didn't treat the guidance as another checklist to work through. Instead, we used it as an opportunity to pause, reflect, and talk honestly as a whole staff. We gave ourselves a half term last year where we deliberately slowed down our professional development program and made time for these discussions. In our professional development meetings or staff meetings, we invited everyone, teachers, teaching assistants, support staff, to reflect on what we actually do every day and why. Marking and data collection became key focus areas. We asked openly, is the way we're marking having the impact we want? Are we collecting data because it's useful or because we've always done it that way? How can we ensure that these tasks support pupil outcomes without consuming excessive time? The power of this process was that it wasn't about leadership telling staff what to do differently. Yes, we facilitated a discussion, but staff took ownership of the outcome. By pressing pause and creating space for reflection, everyone felt part of the solution, not simply recipients of new expectations. That alone addressed a key question in the guidance. Does your school have a culture that discourages staff from working excessive hours? We do, and it starts with giving staff time and permission to reflect and question. We also created a working party led by a deputy with representatives from every main role in school. The purpose was simple: to help all staff understand what each other actually does. When people grasp the demands of different roles, misunderstandings reduce, kindness increases, and relationships improve. This small group created empathy and practical suggestions that improved how we work together, a real answer to the question about fostering a positive wellbeing culture. Our approach to performance management also changed significantly last year. We moved away from processes where staff felt obliged to prove impact through endless evidence collection. Frankly, as a head teacher, I know how my staff are doing. I don't need folders of paperwork to see it. Instead, we encourage staff to use performance management as an opportunity for professional curiosity and flourishing. They researched niche interests, explored areas they cared about, and aligned their work naturally with school priorities. The result? Greater engagement, genuine development, and far more impact than SMART objectives ever delivered. This aligns perfectly with the guidance's intent. Performance management should be purposeful, proportionate, and promote growth. The section on behaviour management in the DfE document highlights a challenge we all know only too well. While the principle of simplifying behavioural recording is good in theory, the reality is complicated by rising parental complaints, especially directed towards head teachers. We have a duty to protect staff, safeguard children, and ensure that we can explain decisions when challenged. So while we have had open conversations about what's proportionate to record and how much detail is necessary, the tension remains real. This is where national guidance can feel disconnected from daily school leadership. What looks proportionate on paper can feel risky when complaints are rising and scrutiny is intense. Throughout all of this, there is a golden thread. Where staff feel ownership of the conversation, the solutions stick. The DfE's questions have value, but the real impact comes from how schools choose to answer them. In our case, staff worked with us to simplify marking and feedback. Staff streamlined data collection with leadership support. Staff embraced a new approach to performance management that allowed personal growth. Staff deepened mutual understanding through the working party. This wasn't just about workload reduction, it was culture building. So here's what I would say to the guidance. The DfE's questions are helpful as a starting point, but their effectiveness depends entirely on whether schools can create time, trust, and confidence to address them properly together. Reducing workload isn't about tweaking a policy. It's about giving staff agency, listening to their insights, and respecting their lived experience. So my challenge to fellow leaders is simple. When did you last press pause? When did you last create the space for your staff to reflect honestly on what's working and what isn't, and help shape the answers? Workload, well-being, culture. These aren't abstract ideas. They're the collective experience of your staff every day. And when you slow down, listen well, and share ownership, you find that staff themselves often bring the most thoughtful solutions because they live the reality every day. That's what our pause gave us. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please do comment, like, and share with your colleagues to keep this important discussion going. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.